Hello and welcome to this presentation of Studio Talk. Today, we are going to be addressing, or if anything, helping to answer these questions, if not showing tutorials for Mitch the Wurlitzer about the Yamaha AW16G. And of course, if you have any questions or video suggestions, feel free to email at either of these addresses. Now, let us begin. Let's turn on the machine! I love this Game Boy technology. It's amazing. Let's see here. Try to get in a bit of view. Ooh, that sound quality is awful. Alrighty. So, today we're going to be bringing more enlightenment to this DAW or this digital audio workstation. Now, if you've used this machine before, you might be able to recognize this Game Boy screen as well. Now, what I'm now noticing is that you're not seeing what buttons I'm hitting over here. Now, if it loads to something like this, you can always hit the song button, which might be worn out depending on what unit you are using. But for this exercise, I'm just going to load up a song I've already worked on to hopefully address Mitch's questions. So, I just want to find something easy. Epic won't be bad. That'll work. And what if any of you don't know what I'm doing over here is I'm just using the keypad and the wheel. Should not have to, alleviate any concerns in that area. In fact, let's try this angle. I think this one's going to look very nice. So, you should be able to see what I'm able to do here. Now, Mitch was asking for where should the input best be set at the optimal signal noise ratio. Also, what level should the AW16G be recording at? If you could see. I rewrote his email. He didn't write that to me. So, very, very calmly, I'm going to try to break that down. So, on this song, there's literally only two tracks on it at this point. I have to still record the bass to it, which you'll see in a later video. So, if you haven't watched any of my earlier videos, or even just need a quick refresher to record a new track, or even just a setup to record a track, what you would need to do is get down to the record button here, and then designate what it is you would like to record. Now, I know there's nothing on channel 3, so I'm just going to mess around and put that there. And then I should probably plug in the speakers too. 1 second. Now you can use any kind of cable, stereo, left, right, mono, however you want to work. But if you're a child of the Radio Shack age, you know how to get cables like this, which I'll be using to hook up this machine. Whoop! Knocked over an amp. Oh no, will that work? Just seems loose. But knocked over my one little baby amp onto my acoustic retro, but I assure you everything is fine. Nothing to be concerned about. It's a little 3-watt amp. Can't do that much damage. Since especially it was already resting to it. Get this thing on. I'm using a custom PA50. I like these things. I have 2 of them so I could do a nice surround sound. What I will show you is that I'm creating the surround sound effect with an amp if I'm really going to show you left and right. But at this moment, I'm just trying to show recording levels at this second. We will get into panoramic audio here in just a moment. Now, of course, hearing the song, might as well show you. Probably hear it. Maybe. Maybe not. Oh no. Okay. Also, great thing to make sure is go to your monitor section here and make sure the track you want to listen to is highlighted. So say you only are using these 3 tracks, boom, that's all you will hear. Now also, if you're recording and you need to hear yourself in the playback, you need to make sure these are open so you can hear whatever you're trying to record before you hit record. So let's head back to the track, show you a bit of this song. Which is just a rhythm and a solo. seeing an overall example. Now, reference Mitch's question on where should the input level be set for optimal signal noise ratio. Also, what level should the AW16G be recording at? These are perfectly acceptable questions because essentially you have 3 to 4 areas of volume you have to monitor. So you have the master volume here, otherwise known as the stereo. Now you can do it all the way up and be like, okay, da 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 da. A lot of the industry people will use either just the 5 or the 0 or the 10 in their areas for setting it. Personally, what you do have to remember is, depending on which one you want to use, always set it when you're adding instruments and vocals and so forth. So if you record the bass at this level, you have to then set it again when you record the vocals, and so on and so on and so on. So whatever one you want to use, I'm playing everything out of the monitor's headphones, which is why I'm trying to figure out how loud everything is currently. But it is funny. That's just one guitar. Second guitar coming in. Okay, so staying on topic without digressing into my own music here. So you would have to basically decide as you're recording, boom, where you want to set it, right? I think when I recorded this one, I might have actually done it on that one from my memory notes. Now, over here, if you see my fingers, these are your input gains on whatever channel track you want to use. Now, part of Mitch's question is related to this, which is what is the optimal, gain level for, just recording even with this machine and even in life. Now, typically, if you notice maybe that says line here and mic here, it's exactly how you should look at it. It's like passive and active in a weird way. So microphones always need power, and even if you have a preamp or not, you would need to use this to power most microphones, i.e. as an example. Now, if you're just using a simple line in from whether it be an amp like this or any other device, typically those are not powered. Though there should be something of a signal being sent to where you don't need much gain. Now, what I would recommend is for anything coming out of a bass amp, PA system, anything kind of like that, you only really need to get your gain about here and here. If you have to have your gain here for something coming out of an effects board and all that, you might need to check your signals. There's something wrong with your power, but otherwise you shouldn't have to do anything more than that for even cell phones and laptops if you're hooking it into it. Microphones, I'm really, interestingly, known as a wild man, but I'm very conservative in the studio. I will never record the microphones at full blast because there will be a full bleed of gain and distortion onto the microphone. And for anyone that doesn't understand that, this is how we discovered distorting guitars. We turned that stuff up really loud, it started to distort, make crazy noises, and that's how we got to the rockin' 1950s as we know it today. Now, so with most microphones, if you can't achieve maximum level of sound input with the microphone here, you can bump it up as you need. Some microphones they're all uniquely different. They're like Stradivariuses, so you have to figure out how your microphones work. But I would typically not try to go that far past for the gain settings on microphones. But that's how I would do it for sure. Somewhere around in there for microphones and somewhere around in here for line signals. Now, that doesn't even cover what to do down here as I digress and get going. And for this, we're going to need to do a little visual aids. So what I'm going to do is hook up this microphone. Maybe I should look at it not through the camera lens. Ta-da! And I'm going to hook it up into the machine. Now, we should be set in terms of making noise, but what you don't know is I'm using like these 20-foot cables, so they're a little bit strung out everywhere. So, if we're talking about recording, as I was before, we need to make sure whatever's coming here is coming into here. Wouldn't work. Let's make sure it's working. Boom! I hear my own voice. So let's see if we can even demonstrate a little bit of what I'm up to. Over here, you typically don't want anything hitting into that upper line when you're recording. Don't think I'm loud enough to, you know, test the limit here. Let's see how far I can get. Don't knock on the door before 10 p.m. Hold up, let's see if we get even higher. See? The gain starts to kick in there. Chip boom! Basically, you don't want to go higher than that because everything starts, you know, distorting at that rate. But that's basically one of the ways to look at it. So, when recording, whether, as in this example with a microphone, make sure you have your gain set perfectly to where it's not bleeding into distortion of, you know, Little Richard and Johnny Be Good. Well, that's not an artist. Anyways, it's a song. Now, you can set your volumes either here or here when you're recording. It's up to you, but basically around the 5 and 0 decibels is where you want to go. Now, to give you an example, if you record loud all the way up, and you go back to mix it, you can't make it louder. So it's always good to kind of have it low and let it set, and however you want it to be. But make sure it's warm and creamy and inviting, however you want to set it. But in terms of answering Mitch's questions on where should the input be set for the optimal signal and noise ratios, for the AW16G, this is what I would recommend at least. And if you're using a line in and be something along this way of power that you need, nothing more than that. Microphone, I would say this is the setting, unless you're coming out of a preamp or public address system type thing. Whatever you're doing to your vocals before it comes in and being recorded. And of course, have your channel set to at least the 5 decibels or the 0 decibels. And over here, you can do 0 to 10 decibels, however you want it to feel, as that being an example of how you can boost the mix from recording it here. Now, this is the end of part 1 of this fan-requested studio talk. And I hope you all have a great day and have enjoyed this. And otherwise, catch you on the next video. So, you know, peace and joy love, everyone.